All right, here's how we're going to do it. My understanding is we're going to see 4 of your picks at a time.
Okay, cool.
In the mock draft. So let's go ahead and roll his 1 through 4 selections. And not a big surprise at the top with Kyler Murray. Before we get into the next 4 picks, are you buying it all, this smoke screen, that all of a sudden they love Josh Rosen?
No, I'm not at all. Okay, so so the first thing, I think the first thing you look at, Bosa, Ed Oliver, Quinnen Williams. I mean, hey, I think there's almost no chance that it's not these 4 people in the top 4.
Right.
As far maybe the Jets take a Quinnen Williams at 3, and then the Raiders take Ed Oliver at 4.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be anything a little more drastic than that. That's pretty much chalk, I think, for about everybody's mock draft right now.
Have you paused at all with the Kyler Murray in the last week or two? Because it seems like the weather has changed a little bit, that people aren't quite as sure that it's a slam dunk.
There's some people throwing some curveballs out into the wind. I think it's a slam dunk still. I don't believe Cliff Kingsbury's poker face in his interview yesterday. I mean, he said the hay's not in the barn. He looked down to the left, kind of had an awkward look on his face, a lot like Doug Marrone looked when he said, Nick who? Nick who? Oh, Nick Foles. I didn't know who you were talking about. Yeah, no, we never thought about him. Oh, wait, we're going to sign him in like 3 weeks.
He also said multiple times, talking about Cliff Kingsbury, more than once, that he was a top 10 pick for a reason last year. It felt to me like they're trying to ratchet up the value.
They're trying to ratchet up the value. I mean, hey, they're not doing a very good job with the smoke screen. They put out a video where Rosen's not in the video. Then the next day, it's like the coaches in the organization went to the media department. They're like, hey, what the f***? Why didn't you put him in the video? Now everybody, it looks like we're not going to, we're definitely going to trade him. Put him in the video. So then they put him in the video. The things that Cliff Kingsbury said, the fact that Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray have the same agent, the fact that Kyler Murray's on his way to Nashville right now as we speak, all of those things lead me to believe he is the number 1 pick. The reason I would believe that they would be saying the things they're saying about Josh Rosen as of yesterday, they had a mini camp or an OTA, one of the two. Either way, they were playing football in Arizona yesterday.
Yep.
He wants to have a good quarterback for these practices.
Yeah.
He wants practice to go well.
It matters.
Or it does matter. He's evaluating the team. He wants the offense to be run smoothly. He wants them to get off, get out of the huddle. He wants a good quarterback so he can evaluate the rest of his team. So he doesn't want to tell. They're not going to go, oh, no, Kyler Murray's the guy. Hey, Josh, don't worry about practice today. No, they're trying to get something out of this right now. I think that's probably the point of why they say what they say right now.
My big why in your top 4, Ed Oliver, and I've heard he's a great fit for the Jets, but him at 3 and Quinnen Williams at 4.
Yeah.
Almost everybody, all the evaluators I trust would say, oh, Quinnen Williams is a better player.
He is.
Why wouldn't you put the Jets or have the Jets take Williams instead of Oliver?
Yeah, okay. And I think that's a great question right at the bat. Quinnen Williams is a better all-around player to me, yes, than Ed Oliver. Now, the thing I look about it here would be, okay, the ceiling. Who's got a higher ceiling? I think if you got into that, I'd go, ooh, that's very close. Ed Oliver has a very high ceiling. I mean, it could be Aaron Donald-ish in his own right. He's certainly one of the freakiest athletes in the draft. And, of course, I know, Quinnen Williams is probably, him or Kyler Murray are the number 1 player in the draft for me. I think the reason I go with this is more about what they have already. They have Leonard Williams, who's a little bit more of a size guy, can do a few different things as far as what a Quinnen Williams can do on a defensive line. And I look at Ed Oliver, the Jets need an edge pass rusher, which is one of the reasons you're hearing them wanting to get out of pick number 3 because they don't feel comfortable about anybody off the edge at number 3. Ed Oliver can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. He could be a defensive tackle 3 technique. He could play 4-3 defensive end 2. And what also came into play here for me was, yes, that Greg Williams was on the St. Louis Rams when they drafted Aaron Donald. And it's a very similar guy to where I think he's going to like the disruption that player brings to his defense with the fact that he already has Leonard Williams, I think is why they pass up Quinnen Williams, even though I do think Quinnen Williams is the better player. I just says maybe not the better fit for them.
Right. I'm buying it. We'll see if all the Jets fans out there buy it. We invite all the reaction there.
At the very least, Oliver is definitely one of the 5 best prospects of this draft. I mean, at 287, and when you can run like you're a damn middle linebacker or something, or a strong safety, that's special, and that's what people are looking for.
All right, 5 through 8. We just hit the 1 through 4. What are the highlights here?
Well, I think
obviously Drew Lock to the Giants.
Drew Lock to the Giants. And that would be my pick as quarterback. Yes, I mean, Drew Lock to me is the 2nd best quarterback in the draft. I mean, great athlete, has the type of arm to be able to throw up in the Northeast in November, December. I think really him or Kyler Murray, it's debatable who's the most natural thrower in the draft. Lock has a big-time arm. So, yes, if I'm the New York Giants, that would be my pick. I think the big thing here is probably the 5 and 8 pick. Devin White to the Bucks. I have him going there. Does that become Josh Allen that goes to number 5? There's a lot of talk that the Bucks could use the edge pass rusher to go along with JPP. I think the need is greater at Devin White at middle linebacker for them, so I go there. Hockenson at tight end. Jacksonville, a lot of talk about maybe them going offensive line. Their offensive line is already really good, and they have an offensive line head coach who, my history shows me, those guys are good at finding people under the radar, and they're good at coaching and making players better than they really are. I don't think Doug Marrone's going to waste the number 7 pick on another offensive lineman that's already a pretty strong unit. They got banged up last year. They could use the tight end. Hockenson can run block, as you know. I think he's going to like that. And then you see there I had Josh Allen, number 8 to Detroit.
Yep.
That's probably – Josh Allen was one of the harder ones where I looked at Detroit overall. I know they signed Trey Flowers. That's great. I look at Josh Allen almost as maybe being a Dante Hightower-ish type of player for
that would
Detroit.
work well.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and to where I say that was I was in New England when we drafted Dante Hightower. What he can do is kind of similar to Josh Allen. He could play 3-4 outside linebacker. You could play him at defensive end. There's some true pass rush ability. Oh, no, this week we need you at Mike linebacker or this down. Okay, we can do that. I think ultimately that's what Josh Allen is going to be, a little bit of that hybrid stand-up linebacker / we're going to stand you up on the outside of the line of scrimmage and let you rush the passer a bunch of times a game too, to where he'll do both of those roles. And I think with what Detroit needs, again, I just don't see them going O-line again. Again, I think their O-line is pretty damn good. I mean, they got a first-round center. They have a pretty good right tackle. They got a second-round left tackle, or a first-round Taylor Decker out of Ohio State. To me, I think the defense needs more difference makers up front. That's why they go Josh Allen.
And for everyone who's listening instead of watching, just to run through 5 through 8, 5 Tampa Bay, Devin White, 6 Giants, Drew Lock, 7 Jacksonville, TJ Hockenson, 8 Detroit with Josh Allen.
Yes.
And I know all along that you've liked Drew Lock better, or it's like you liked him a little better than Dwayne Haskins. And this is as if you were the GM making the call. If the Giants decide, let's play the Giants, not Chris Sims.
Yeah, quite cool.
If the Giants decide to go quarterback at 6, which one do you think it'll be?
I honestly think, would I feel where it's going to go right now is it's going to go Daniel Jones at number 6, which I think is insane.
Yeah.
Okay, but I do. I just feel like
why would they have him better than Haskins and Lock?
I think that he's probably a lot like Eli Manning and his demeanor and the way he is. David Cutcliffe coached him. They trusted him with Eli Manning when he came out of Ole Miss. To me, that's where I just feel the Giants. There's too many things. Gil Brandt talks on the radio last week about how Daniel Jones is really Peyton Manning. Okay?
Wow.
And then the first people to pick it up and put it out in the world was NJ.com, NewJersey.com, one of their sites. To me, that shows me that the Giants were trying to sell this on the public already to kind of gauge it, warn them, let them know that this was going to be the pick.
Couldn't they get him at 17?
Maybe. But if he's your guy, I think you take him. You're risking a lot. You're risking a lot. Hey, do the Dolphins maybe like him? Do the Redskins like him? Again, I would say no, but we don't know what those teams are thinking. And if you're sold that one guy is your franchise quarterback, it doesn't matter whether I like you take him and the what do I want to say? The rolling of the dice there. Yeah.
And there's no reason to do that. If you've decided that's your quarterback, who cares if you take him at 6 or
Ernie
17?
Accorsi hired Dave Gettleman. Ernie Accorsi was there when they drafted Eli Manning. Ernie Accorsi's probably friends with Gil Brandt. It's old world
Connecting
NFL.
the dots. Yeah, there you go.
I just think that are selling Daniel Jones to the tri-state area public already.
Okay.
Yep.
Moving on to 9 through 12. And again, for everybody listening, I'll read out the picks. Buffalo, Montez Sweat. At 10, Denver, Devin Bush. 11, Cincinnati, Jonah Williams. And 12, Green Bay, Rashawn Gary.
Yeah, all right. So Montez Sweat, again, I think he's a top 10 pick. I look at the Buffalo Bills. Jerry Hughes is getting up there in age. Maybe the tight end Hockenson would have been in play for the Bills. I think that this is probably their next best option to go this route. They made some improvements to their offensive line through free agency and everything like that. So I don't know if they'll go with that at number 9. At number 9, their O-line, they're making the right strides. They can get another guy in the second round if they want to round out the O-line. Montez Sweat, I think, is too special to pass up for them. So that jumps out to me.
I'll tell you what jumps out to me.
Yeah,
looking at 10, Devin Bush.
Sure.
And you had Devin White at 5 going to Tampa Bay. 2 inside linebackers in the top 10.
Yes.
We haven't seen much of that.
No, we have definitely not seen. You're right about that. And I'm glad you brought it up because it is. And maybe this is a hair of an overdraft of both of these guys where they go a little earlier than they would in most years.
I hear a lot of people raving about both of them. It's just that position, kind of like on the offensive side, guard, hasn't been that coveted this high in the first round.
You're right. It's not. It's rare. I mean, it's Miles Jack, right, a few years ago to Jacksonville. It's, Roquan Smith. It's every now and then you see a guy that's that special at middle linebacker. But I think both of these guys are worthy of that. I think also what's happened in the NFL, a lot of your team defensive speed is dictated through that middle linebacker play, the guy who can fly around and beat the ball hawk or cover the tight end down the middle of the field, all of those things. I just look at Vic Fangio, the Denver Broncos, Devin Bush. He wants, it's a defensive head coach. He wants his defense to get off to a good head start. And I think Devin Bush, they have a need at middle linebacker. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. And he drafted a similar guy in Roquan Smith last year. But the two Devins are in a class of their own a little bit as far as the rest of the linebacking core. So I think that's why they probably get a little overvalued in this conversation.
Why Rashawn Gary at 12 to Green Bay?
Yeah, I look at the Green Bay Packers and go, okay, what do we want to do there? Okay, maybe you could get an offensive lineman. I think, they had a little need at right guard. Okay, maybe they could get a tackle for the future because Balaga's getting up there in age. But still, they're there at this point. They got a Billy Turner to play right guard. I hope I'm getting that right, Billy Turner. I got names, and I just go off the top of my head sometimes. All right, I got that right. So I think, again, even to address guard needs, they could probably do that in the second round. There's nobody there of value or a great need there.
No Quentin Nelson-like guard this year.
No, exactly right. Not really there to that extent. And I look at their defense. They got some edge guys in free agency. They got some good young corners. Their safety plays pretty good. And I just look, they got Adrian Amos in free agency. And one of my issues with Green Bay is lack of kind of big people difference makers in their front seven. It's only really been Mike Daniels and Kenny Clark. Last year they signed Muhammad Wilkerson to be that guy. He got hurt. He's not there. I just think Rashawn Gary, they probably got a really good look and have a feel for him because they're up there in that area. Right. So it made sense to me, and I do think Mike Pettin likes that type of guy with the versatility he can bring.
And there's no Clay Matthews coming off the edge anymore.
No, there's not. No, there's not. And then, hey, just to talk about this, the Bengals, Jonah Williams. Hey, the Bengals, maybe they could go pass rusher here as far as a difference maker. Their defensive line's still pretty damn good, okay? There's players there I like on their team to where I go, ooh, they're not desperate there. I just felt like they were desperate as far as the interior O-line. They need something there. I went with Jonah Williams. Big reason being, I think he is the best guard in the draft. I don't think he's worthy of the number 11 pick, but I think there is lack of high-end talent at the guard position in this draft, and I think that he leads the way, so they'll probably overdraft him to a degree.
Next 4 starts at number 13, and you give us a real talking point right there. Dwayne Haskins, quarterback, Ohio State to the Dolphins. 14, Atlanta, Cody Ford. 15, the Redskins, DK Metcalf, another good one to discuss. 16, Carolina, Brian Burns, the defensive end from Florida State. So let's get back up to 13.
Yeah.
Haskins to the Dolphins. You feel good about that one?
I do feel good about it. I mean, the logic is there. I think, whether they think I'm logical or not, probably not. But if I'm the Miami Dolphins, first thing is I think Dwayne Haskins is very much worthy of a top 10 pick or a top 15 pick. This would be the very exact situation I would want a Dwayne Haskins in. Oh, we got Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's the guy. We let this young kid who's only played 1 year of college football, who's also still a kid. He's 21. I don't mean that to be a bad way. There's nothing wrong with being 21 and acting like you're 21.
Right.
We get a little fooled because of the Andrew Lucks of the world who come in and are 21 and they act like they're 42. Okay, this kid's a kid. Either way. But there's good in this player. He's got talent. He's got smarts. So everything is there. You got him sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year, and then he become your franchise guy. Also look at the Dolphins and go, what is it? It's New England Southeast, right? They believe in big pocket-type quarterbacks who are going to stand in there and make throws just like Brady does. So I think he fits their overall concept of what they would like on offense, too.
How long did it take you? How much pause did you have at 15 to give DK Metcalf to the Redskins?
I thought about it. The Redskins are a team where I just looked at it and was like, man, what are the Redskins going to do? They could use a corner when I looked at it. maybe a difference maker on the edge of the defense too, where I went, ooh, does Brian Burns go to the Redskins because they lost, Preston Smith to the Packers in free agency? But damn, they got a really good defensive line as is. They still got Ryan Kerrigan. Their offensive line, they still got Trent Williams and Brandon Scherf and Morgan Moses. They got a good offensive line. They just haven't been able to stay healthy. So I went to it and said, okay, would it be a Greedy Williams maybe or a DK Metcalf? And I just said, man, they need a playmaker on offense. They need somebody that can take the pressure off one of these quarterbacks and catch a slant and go.
Right, be nice.
I think that's what DK can do.
Speaking of quarterback, can you see a scenario where they just take the highest quarterback available on their board?
Ooh, I could. I don't think that would be a shock. Like, if Drew Lock was somewhere there, I could see them being I think Jay Gruden would like either Kyler Murray or Drew Lock. I have no inside info, but I was around the guy a lot, almost every day for 5 years straight. I think that's their more cup of tea rather than a Dwayne Haskins or a Daniel Jones.
Right.
If I'm Washington, just while we're on this subject, 15, take DK Metcalf, second round pick, trade it for Josh Rosen, and now you got your guy. No, I don't think anybody's going to give away a first-round pick for Josh Rosen when everyone believes they're taking Kyler Murray. That would be the move to me.
I think that'd be great value. If Frank Clark is worth the first-round pick and some extra, Josh Rosen's got to be
definitely second, and probably a little change too to throw in there with it.
I think that'd be a good way to go. All right, next four, beginning with the Giants, and this is their second pick. The Giants in the first round, you had them going quarterback with Drew Lock at 17, Greedy Williams, cornerback, Minnesota, Greg Little. Tennessee at 19, Dexter Lawrence, and the Steelers at number 20, Cleveland Farrell, whoever you want to talk to. We know who the player is. Greedy Williams to the Giants at 17. That works out pretty well. They get the quarterback at 6, and they get the best corner in the draft at 17.
Best corner in the draft, again, 6'2", ran 4'3". Not a lot of people like that out there in football or in the world in general. The Giants have a real need at the corner position. There's really no proven commodity they have at corner other than Janoris Jenkins. They are really kind of in Strugglesville, the rest of that conversation. So, hey, we're edge guys in the conversation. Did I think about that a little bit? Certainly. Safety, Jonathan Abram from Mississippi State, that crossed my mind to a degree. But I think when all is said and done, this made the most sense to me for what the New York Giants need. I had Brian Burns going off the board at 16 to the Carolina Panthers. Maybe they would fancy a guy like that. But no, Greedy Williams, to me, is a pretty special player, and I think he has a chance to be like one of those island-type corners in the NFL. You
mentioned Brian Burns, and you said that you had him going 16 to Carolina. We had him on the show a 3 weeks ago, and he talked about all the different places he was going for pre-draft visits because that's what first-round prospects do. He was doing like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 a week. Greedy Williams is the top cornerback from LSU, and if what I'm reading is correct, he didn't make a single pre-draft visit. What do you make of that?
It's really interesting, and I'm glad you brought it up before the show. And when you said it, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I read the same thing last week or whatever it was, and thought that was interesting too. Now, here's the first thing: he's going to the draft in Nashville. Okay. Somebody's already told him. Maybe multiple have told him we're taking you. So he's very confident in going. So I think when things like that happen. To me, sometimes you could be so much the slam dunk of the guy at your position that no one really wants to bring you in. And if all your character stuff is great off the field to where there's no issue there, teams might just go, he's the best corner. Our scouts had no character concerns at all. We got to spend a little time with him at the combine, something like that. We're good. He's the best corner. Let's just chalk it up to that.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what happened with Greedy Williams. I know it is pretty interesting that he didn't go one visit.
Yeah, and a lot of people think he'll be the only corner to go in the first round. We'll see if you feel the same way here coming up.
Yep.
All right, that's 17 through 20. Let's move ahead, 21 through 24, beginning with Seattle. This is the first of their 2 first-round picks. They just got the 29th from Kansas City. At 21, Christian Wilkins. I think that's 3 in a row from Clemson you have going. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's to the Seahawks at 21. I'm just thinking out loud here. Baltimore at 22, Paris Campbell. Houston, 23, Andre Dillard. And tight ends to the Raiders at number 24. The second from Iowa, and Noah Fant.
Yep. So I guess Christian Wilkins, I just look at him and go the Seattle Seahawks. I think this is what they're doing. This is why they didn't want to re-sign Frank Clark. They're trying to build this team again with young draft picks, just the way they built the Legion of Boom and the Seattle Seahawks when they went on their Super Bowl run and became special there, 2012, 13, 14, 15, all those years. I think they're trying to do the same thing there. Wilkins, I think, fits that defensive scheme where he can be a shade nose tackle or a 3 technique, has a little bit of both. They always err on guys that are a little more athletic, so I think that makes sense for them. They certainly have that need there. Hey, the one, Paris Campbell, Baltimore Ravens. I'm a huge Paris Campbell fan. Why? I thought this was a no-brainer. I just look at him and go, this is Percy Harvin. This is DJ Moore last year, who the Carolina Panthers took. To me, he fits exactly what the Baltimore Ravens want to do. They got tight ends. They want to run the ball. Oh, here's a screen, Paris Campbell. Run and go for 50. Oh, here's a speed sweep. Come across like Tyreek Hill. Oh, he turned the corner, ran for 50. That'll fit with what they want to do with Lamar Jackson.
Right.
You got a lot of evidence of Paris Campbell catching short passes and really making a lot of big plays with Yak with the ball in his hand. So to me, that just made too much sense. They definitely need a wide receiver. There were some other positions I kicked around in the conversation altogether, but I just thought the need at receiver was way too high, that they need somebody that's, again, a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card. It can't always be between the tackles for 4, between the tackles for 4. Okay, make a throw, Lamar. Between the tackles for 4. You got to have somebody to take the pressure off your team a little bit, and I think Paris Campbell can do that.
The old saying is that the running game or tight end is a quarterback's best friend, but the way offenses are playing now, if you have a receiver who can be in the slot and close to you,
exactly,
that might be a young quarterback's best friend.
I think that's a very fair point because of what you say. You get some easy completions.
Yeah.
It's a run game threat. You get in the right matchups in the slot. You can still send them downfield and do those type of things. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Paris Campbell. There's questions about his hands. That's the thing.
Which can concern you at receiver.
It can, but it's not a drops. It's not a drops concerns. I get this. It is more about his aggressive nature to snatch it, tuck it, and run. I think the people I've talked to, the concerns there were he's a little too careful and looking at it.
Did you see that when you watched him?
A little bit. It's not like, you like a guy who, like DK Metcalf, who has a few drops, but it's like an Odell Beckham Jr. and Antonio Brown. A lot of the times they catch the ball, they're already running as they're catching it because they're going, hey, there's not a lot of separation in the NFL. I need every inch or second I can get. Let me start running upfield and just snatch this thing out of the air and rip it down. And I think that's where some of the hesitation comes with Paris Campbell.
Okay, 25 through 28, beginning with the Eagles, Jajuan Taylor. 26, the Colts. There are great things about this player, Jonathan Abram, the safety. 27, Oakland with Collier, and 28, the Chargers, Jeffrey Simmons. Do you want to start at the bottom or at the top here with this quad?
Yeah, well, okay, so 20, I'll start with 25, the Eagles. I got them taking Jajuan Taylor. I do think they have a need to replace a Jason Peters very soon. Jason Peters been hurt 2 years in a row. I mean, 2 years ago, he missed the Super Bowl run. Last year, he was kind of in and out of the lineup. I think we're getting to that time. What is it, year 14? For Jason Peters,
he's in his mid to high 30s. So
it's up there, right? So they need to start thinking about that. Certainly, hey, I did think Josh Jacobs there. I've heard that they're in the market for a speed receiver. I thought all of that, but I just think the need at offensive line is greater than anything. So that certainly was on my radar. The Colts, Jonathan Abram, no-brainer there.
Is that the first safety?
It is the first safety.
Off the board.
It is the first safety.
If he's one of these players, after all this evaluation and scrutiny, most people still like a whole lot.
Yeah.
Safety is a valued position now.
Yes.
Why? How come he's still around at 26?
Yeah, no, and I think there's some teams that we could probably go back and go, ooh, they could be in the running for a Jonathan Abram, certainly. I think that, he does everything well. I think he's probably a little more strong safety than free safety, but can play free safety. I think just the biggest thing is really when you go back and look, I don't know if a team, the Giants have a need at safety. Maybe they're a team that dabbles in that, okay? After that, when we talked about the top 20, I just felt like there was teams that had greater needs at other positions. The Carolina Panthers, I thought, ooh, there's another team that maybe could be in the Jonathan Abram conversation.
And you had them going defensive end, Brian Burns in 16.
Right, which I just thought was a greater need for their football team there and the way they play defense, which is more zone-oriented and things like that. And they have some players at safety where I just thought that made more sense. But, hey, sometimes it's just about what a team needs and things like that. Great example would be Derwin James from last year.
Yeah.
Derwin James, I didn't have a friend in the NFL or a person I talked to in front office, coach, who didn't think Derwin James was one of the 10 best players in the draft.
And
there we were at pick 18, and he was still on the board because other teams needed some needs, and all of a sudden it just goes, oh, crap, how did that happen?
Yeah, right.
And that's what happens sometimes, right.
And that team, the Chargers at 28, Jeffrey Simmons, how high do you think he would have gone minus the ACL injury that he suffered after the season?
Yeah, I think he would have been right in the top 12, top 15 debate, maybe even higher to teams that ran a 4-3 that felt like, ooh, we want a guy who can shoot in gaps and be disruptive that way. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. He is extremely athletic, got great power. He's not a guy that's going to be awesome against double teams. You don't want him in a 3-4 defense. To me, that's why I went with the Chargers. The Chargers, you know, have a good football team, as we know. They can have a little bit of this is what I would call almost like a fuck you pick. Like, we're really good. We can kind of just take whoever we think's the best player on the board. I thought about offensive linemen for them here too, maybe to build for the future. But I think ultimately their biggest issue is big people in the middle of their defense. Lost Darius Philon in free agency. Brandon Meebane's getting up there in age as far as the other defensive tackle. And Jeffrey Simmons just seems, I've been around Gus Bradley. They have a lot of the Tampa. Gus Bradley was with me in Tampa. They have a lot of the Tampa thoughts. We want disruptors, people who are explosive, quick off the ball. And that's what Simmons is, and I think he fits that scheme very well.
Okay, 29-32. It starts out with the Seahawks pick that they just got in the Frank Clark trade. At 29, they go defense again. Darnell Savage, the safety. Packers, their second pick in the first round, A.J. Brown. And then L.A., the Rams at number 31, Garrett Bradbury. And 32, Jay Sternberger, tight end, to the Patriots. And that's, I'm just picturing that fit there with the need for the Pats, and that's a pretty nice pick.
It is. The Patriots, it came down to, okay, are we going Gronk replacement, or are we getting N'Keal Harry or Deebo Samuel? Are they taking a receiver off the board, maybe they like? And Deebo Samuel or N'Keal Harry, I think, would be the type of guy. Ultimately, I went with tight end is just too important to this offense, where I think Jay Sternberger obviously is the third best tight end in this draft. I think he's the most similar to Gronk.
Yep.
I mean, kind of a big, lumbering-looking guy when you watch him on film, but damn, he makes a lot of people miss in space. He runs by people a ton. He plays much faster than his 4.75 speed at the combine shows. Unbelievable catch radius. I just think he fits what the Patriots want and need at that position.
Let's stay with the passing game at 30. How do you see Aaron Rodgers and the Packers using A.J. Brown?
I went A.J. Brown here, and again, thought of Deebo Samuel, N'Keal Harry, Marquise Hollywood Brown from Oklahoma, who now you'll know I don't have in the first round. Listen, I'm not going to take a 160-pound wide receiver who has Liz Frank injury in the first round. I'm just not going to do it. And nor do I think Marquise Hollywood Brown is a great route runner. I think he's a little bit more of a straight line guy. So that scared me a little bit. A.J. Brown, I think the value is there for me for the Packers. He's Randall Cobb-ish, right? He's much better than Randall Cobb was coming out, but a guy that can be in the slot. He can separate. He can catch the ball over the middle, break tackles, make people miss, going to be able to catch screen passes, do those type of things, but also has enough top-end speed that you can put him outside and go, oh, we can trust you to beat, Kyle Fuller, the Bears, one-on-one. So I think that's the value there with the Packers. They need another offensive weapon, in my opinion. Again, I even thought Josh Jacobs, as you're seeing here, is not in my first round. And it killed me not to have him in the first round. But I think, like Josh Jacobs, my justification for the Raiders not taking him with their last pick, or the Colts or the Eagles. First of all, the Raiders and the Colts pick at the top of the second round. So if they want Josh Jacobs really bad, there's a good chance he could maybe be there. I went with that. So that jumped out to me. The one I really want to talk about, because this is like one of my man crushes of the draft, is the Seattle Seahawks pick at 29 with Darnell Savage.
Yeah, let's review what you did with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
They're on a lot of people's minds with that Frank Clark trade.
Right.
So you went defense at 21, Christian Wilkins out of Clemson. Defense again with the name you just mentioned, Darnell Savage at safety. What should we know about why you like that fit?
Yeah, Savage, and I made this comparison a little bit on my Monday podcast. His explosiveness is Earl Thomas-ish. It is a rocket up his ass, Paul. I mean, for me, he was one of the best pure secondary prospects in the whole draft. The guy could play corner, and I'd go, he's one of the best corners in the draft. The way Maryland used him, free safety, the speed is off the charts. He ran 4.36 at the combine. He plays like he run 4.26. Wow. It's faster on the field.
Why Jonathan Abram as a higher ranked safety? You had him going to the Colts at 26.
I think he's just they have Malik Hooker, who's a little bit more of the free safety range guy. He had the Achilles tear 2 years ago. I think you'll see him back. I think Jonathan Abram may be a little bit more of the safer, well-rounded guy, and I think there's a little bit more need of the guy, the strong safety position for them. That's why I went with Abram, but certainly I thought about putting Savage with the Eagles, at pick, what was that, 25? I did think about the Colts, like you said. I even thought about it, with the Rams at 31 going, ooh, that's another team that has safety needs. But Savage, to me, for the Seattle Seahawks, they got all these long corners. They need a guy who can kind of be a safety/nickel type guy. Savage did these things at Maryland.
Wow.
And, Paul, when they put him in some coverage situations, I mean, his ability to put his foot in the ground and burst on the ball, it's every bit as good as Greedy Williams or some of those guys. His tackling, he might not be like a knock-your-head-off guy like Jonathan Abram, but he gets you down every time. And if you think you're going to take a 70-yard touchdown to the house with him on the field, good luck, because he is going to run your ass down.
He sounds like your favorite.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
he is. He's one of my favorites. And I really think that would fit what Seattle needs. They need that extra guy. I think they need the nickel guy, and that's where they're going to use him. He can go up and fly up and tackle in the run game. Go up and tackle the wide receiver bubble screen. Oh, we need you to play man-to-man on a slot receiver here? Well, you're punty freaking fast and got great hips and can do all that. I think he's a really good fit. Or if they just want to play him at free safety and say beat Earl Thomas and just be a ball hawk in the back end, I think he's going to be great at that as well.
It's almost time that the NFL and college needs a different name than just nickel or hybrid linebacker safety, because you play with one almost every single snap.
You do. It's become a starting position.
It's not really a specialty thing anymore.
No, you're right.
You talked about Greedy Williams. He's your only corner.
Yeah.
I just double-checked it. One corner going in the first round, and you have him going 17 to the Giants. How many corners do you think will actually go?
Okay. Yeah.
In round one.
Yeah. I mean, again, the names I see, Rock Ya-Sin from Temple, who's a fine football player. I've seen guys like Lonnie Johnson from Kentucky, who's a fine football player. DeAndre Baker from Georgia, fine football player. They run 4.5, 4.55, 4.56. That's
can't do it in the first round?
There's just no fucking way. I'm taking a quarterback that runs. Oh, you run 4.55. Go cover Tyreek Hill. Oh, the guy that's 0.3 faster than you, go to cover Odell Beckham Jr., who's 0.2 faster than you.
Right.
That to me does not logically speak to a first-round corner.
But if you take him in the second,
that's
one would
better.
call it great value, and you still might ask him to cover the same people.
You might, but I would think the guys that I just mentioned there are more nickel-type cover corners rather than outside-type corners. And I think there's better players on the board at other positions for these teams than going, oh, yeah, we'll take the corner who runs 4.55. If you take a corner who runs 4.55, I just don't want to hear it when you go, well, he can't run with any of the good receivers 2 years from now. Because if you come out with that bullshit-ass excuse, I'm calling you out right now. I'm just telling you. Don't even, we're the Steelers, and we picked Lonnie Johnson at 21, and he can't cover Odell Beckham Jr. No shit. He ran 4.5 something. Right. And that's not fast enough to be an outside corner covering Odell Beckham Jr.
Right.
So that's just...
Isn't it something how expectations change, especially at that position?
Yes.
For a first-round corner or second-round corner, in terms of what you're going to ask him to do and what you expect him to do for the next decade.
Yeah, it is. It's that fine of a line. But again, that's over. You and I have talked about this a lot lately. It's first corner is about eliteness. Right. It's not about, oh, he's a complete player. Hey, every now and then you draft a complete player if you just feel like, oh, this need is so bad that I have to take this guy and he fits where we need it so badly. He's not that special. But, yeah, it's about unique traits in the first round. And, to me, out of the corners, Greedy Williams is the only guy that's got it.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.